updates on that important meeting. On that note, we'll toss it over to Sunal Sachdev for this morning's Deep Focus segment. Sunal, morning.
Morning, Ira. Education seems to be in focus. There's been lots happening there in terms of curriculum, in terms of easing pressure. We had suicides and all that, but the big thing now is, a foreign participation in education. They would be allowed to give degrees. That's an interesting thing, big reform kind of initiative there. We have Rajesh Singhal, who is the managing partner at Milestone Religare, who have launched a fund, a 600 crore fund focusing purely on healthcare and education. Education, big moves everywhere across the globe. Obama's, floated proposal for amendments to their education kind of system. You have the Indian government taking action here. What's your broad take on what's happening in this space, and why do you choose education to invest in as a fund?
Sure. Thank you, Sonal. I think, first of all, the education sector, if you look at India, is a very, very broad and a very big sector, more than about $50 to $60 billion of, just the sector in the private capacity, private spend. And we look at still if a large number of students who ought to be in the school system, they are still out of the school system. So there is basically an opportunity to create access. There is an opportunity to create capacities further, both by private and the government sector, and go after, get these students into the education system. And the second fact, why we are attracted towards the education as a sector is also to continue, let's say, a growth of 8, 9, 10% on the economy, overall. At macro level, it will also place a lot of demands, a lot of job creation will happen, and for which we need educated, skilled manpower, which is, required across different segments, be it telecom, be it retail, be it financial services, animation, and so on and so forth. So I think we see a lot of opportunities emerging up, and as a result of which, different parts of education sector become very, very attractive. Historically, a huge amount of a sector has been controlled, has been in the government domain. We are seeing, I think, signs of private sector taking a lot of initiative, getting into areas which were kind of the territory of government, whether it is school, K-12 education, even higher educations, to the extent the structures permit them to participate in that growth. But even around the core education of K-12 or higher education, there are still a lot of areas where we see, as a private equity investor, we see a lot of opportunities emerging, in the areas of coaching, test preparation, assessment, or even vocational training. For example, so many jobs which are created, our graduates or sometimes even engineers are not ready, to be sort of absorbed in the job stream. So there has to be somebody, an authority, a body outside our private sector initiative, which prepares these people to take on the real world challenges, give them the finishing touch, give them all the skills required to go out and sort of compete in the real world.
Right.
So as you can see, I think these are the areas where it becomes really interesting for us as a private equity player to take a part of education sector.
Right. Now I'll come to the private equity a bit in a short while, but first let me get your focus on the latest sort of announcement from the government, the cabinet clearing the foreign university setting up in India. How do you react to that? What do you see emerging from that, and does that spawn anything for private equity?
Sure. So I think, again, if you analyze the kind of actions which current government and also the previous government has taken, I think there has been a big focus on their part to create access, to create infrastructure, make it more widely and easily available to students, so that the earlier issue that I talked about of people not going into the school system or the higher education system is kind of addressed to some extent, and also make quality education available in India at a sort of lower price as compared to people. A lot of, we have heard this concept about, brain drain, a lot of our engineers and, higher education people going outside, spending top dollars to get educated. So I think some of these initiatives right now are being undertaken by the government are a good step in that direction to sort of reverse that, brain drain concept. Also bring a lot of competition within India so that even the local institutions, again, institutions of repute also have a competitive, landscape rather than, just being sort of happy with what they're doing. So foreign education bill in particular, in our mind, I think is a step in addition to a number of other initiatives the government has taken. For example, the right to education bill, or making let's say a class 10th exam optional, reducing stress for the students. Also talking about a uniform entrance exam at the national level, so that so many different entrance exams which are there can be kind of eliminated. And also a lot of through the government initiatives, a lot of PPP projects where government is inviting private sector participation. So these are steps, I think, to my mind, I think the single most important sort of fallout of this will be the creation of access, creation of infrastructure, availability of high quality education within India.